So I'm gonna start with the gold standard of tomatoes first. Okay, this is DOP. This is Nina brand. It doesn't really matter the brand. Once it has that label on it, basically those tomatoes are all coming from the San Marzano area, you know, the volcanic ash, all that. They're getting this stamp from the government. They're expensive. In other parts of America, this DOP label might run you $6 or $7. I know a lot of my audience are from this area too, but I know a lot of you aren't. People who live around the New York Metro are fortunate to have a lot of Italian supermarkets. You know, I have a supermarket that's near me that's an Italian, just Italian food. It's odd. There's no place in the country like that. All right, we're gonna start with these. This is crushed tomatoes. And the story goes, you never buy crushed tomatoes because you don't know what happened at the processing plant, who lost a finger or whatnot in there, and who knows how much truth there is to that. They're not gonna be just as good quality as a whole plum tomato. Do they have their use? They absolutely do. What I recommend doing is if you have some really good tomatoes, really good like San Marzano plum tomatoes, mix and match, add a couple of them together. Passata is tomatoes that are basically completely smooth, and I'm gonna read you right here. It has sea salt, a little bit of basil in there, basil extract. This is the Mutti brand, M-U-T-T-I. And then this is La Bella San Marzano. Okay, no basil extract, just tomatoes, salt, and an acid regulator. Almost all these tomatoes, you're gonna see an acid regulator in there. If you make your own tomatoes, you're gonna do the same thing. And you're actually gonna put in a lot more lemon juice or citric acid than you think. So that's passata. People like it on pizza. It's great in soups. I don't typically use it very often. It's not really in my kitchen. These are plum tomatoes here. Okay, this is from a family member. Her father, up until recently, would can these tomatoes. And canning tomatoes is like just a process that a lot of Italian Americans, like a pastime they will engage in. You can still see videos of people doing it, and normally they'll buy the tomatoes in boxes, or they'll grow them themselves. And he used to grow them. It was very labor intensive, but it's kind of like a ritual. These are 32-ounce ball jars. Normally for a 32-ounce ball jar, I think it's 2 tablespoons of lemon juice you put in there. And that helps, it's a natural preservative for it. So these are the same exact plum tomatoes that are these. These are seed San Marzano that are grown in Long Island, New York, but they don't taste like the real San Marzano from Italy. That's the thing, they just taste better. These are finely chopped tomatoes in here. So this is another type that I don't normally use. I'm sure they're good. Let me know how they are. Maybe one of you uses this a lot. This is a brand you're gonna see everywhere in the country. This is like just like that national label. Now Trader Joe's always has these. These are diced, so they come diced. They'll come in all different types. They'll come in puree, they'll come in tomato sauce, whole. This is something that's gonna be accessible to no matter where you live. Sclafani, these are good tomatoes. I like this brand. They're in the New York Metro, they're inexpensive, and they're always good. Pastine, this is a good brand. This is tomato puree. So a lot of people like to use this too, which is very similar to, to passata. So now we're gonna get down to what I use often because it's such a good deal. I don't know if this is gonna be available in your Costco. They have a lot of Italian ingredients here in Long Island because a huge portion of the people who live here are, are Italian American. They know that that's what the people want, and maybe in other states, not as much. I lived in Minnesota, and I've told you guys this in the past, they did have some of the tomatoes and they did have the cheese. You might be able to find them where you are. This is $5.49, I believe. Now, I don't know, it could be higher now. When I bought these last, I bought like 15 of them. So this can is 100 ounces. A standard can of tomatoes is 28 ounces. You're getting 3.5 basically of this. If you can get this for $5.49, it's a huge deal. Now, it's not DOP. This is Nina DOP. I have taste tested both of these next to each other so many times, I can't tell. If I did a blind taste test to you, I'm almost positive you wouldn't be able to tell either. If you can find these, great deal. You might be able to find these. Maybe like a restaurant supply store near you would have them too, like if Costco doesn't. Now, if I forgot a type of tomato that you use, please let me know. The other one that I use, besides my plum tomatoes, is paste. And I use a ton of paste. It's very popular with Southern Italians. I'm just one of those people that swears by it. I just think it's so important to cooking so many sauces. It helps you so much. It boosts the flavor of the tomatoes, and it allows you to get like a thicker sauce in a much, much quicker time. So this is it's like a secret weapon. I don't really recommend buying the tubes. One tube is half the size of one can. And these cans, they sell a 12 pack at Costco for I think it's $6 or $7. So way less than $1 a can. I'm well stocked always. A lot of these I bought for this to make this episode here, but I always have the big Ninas, and I always have like the Chianti, San Marzano, and I always have the Sclafani that I think are just a great value. The ingredient that's going to make this a little different in this, well, there's two of them, but this right here is pork neck bones. This is a common ingredient. A lot of you guys are going to know this one. They impart a ton of flavor. You can really just dunk them right in the sauce. Give the onion a little dice. One onion and the eyes to show it. Just gonna put that off to the side. Far away. I cleaned it before, but I'll do it again. Take paper towel, whatever, sponge, and kind of wipe it down. You might want to do this right when you buy them all. And then just use some muscle to open up this really big can. No matter what brand you're using, it might say on the label, they'll put a couple basil leaves in there. I always take those basil leaves, always toss them because they've been in there a long time right here. So here's one leaf. And just get rid of this. Clean hands. You're gonna take a shield hand and a hand to break it. This works better in your sink because if you do make a mess, especially if it's a deep sink, it won't go too far. But this shield hand right here, it's to prevent when it splatters, it'll keep it down. This is just always how I've done it. Some people will throw them in the blender for like a second or two. You can do that, like just a quick pulse. I like to crush the whole ones. I like to have a little bit of texture of the tomato when I make the sauce. You know, you could do half and half maybe, take the other half of the can, pulse it. If you want to put a pinch of sugar, you can to take a little bit of the acidity out. You can also use a carrot, about a half a carrot. You can just throw it in there. That'll kind of do the same job. Normally, if you have good quality tomatoes, you really don't need to do that. This tomato container right here, you can use that to store your bad oil. So when you fry cutlets or anything like that, you know, frying your meatballs, put it in one or the other. I kind of like this container, you just cap it. The cans work really well too. Those are big cans. Here's red wine. This is Pinot Noir. That's fine. Just use a dry red wine, anything that you have. Here is a Dutch oven. About 2, 3, 4 tablespoons. So the heat's really low. You just want to sweat these onions. You don't want to put any color on them. Just get them a little bit translucent. 3 minutes. It doesn't matter. The sauce is going to cook for hours. After those onions get a little soft, and it's only been like 2 minutes, I'm going to put the paste in. I'm going to take 1 whole can of tomato paste. Standard can of tomato paste in America is 6 ounces. These small cans are the most common way you'll find it, or in a tube. And we're just gonna mix this paste into the oil. We're gonna kind of fry the paste for about 5 minutes. The second the tomato hits the oil with the onions, you're smelling that Sunday sauce smell already. It just permeates the whole house. I probably made, I don't know, hundreds of these. And you would always do a variation on it. So 1 week it would be braciole. Check out my braciole video too, you'll love those. And then 1 week it'll be meatballs. And then 1 week it would be sausages, hot and sweet. There's really an infinite amount of combinations. And then when you get the sauce, make a real lot of it, then you can start making, you know, your baked ziti. You can make manigot, you can make stuffed shells, all of that stuff. And that's why it's always good to have a lot of extra sauce. That paste is pretty good like that. That cooked for about 7 minutes. Take the red wine, we're gonna do 3/4 cup. All right, so I'm gonna cook this wine out for about 5 minutes. After a few minutes, you can add in the rest of all of your plum tomatoes now. Be careful doing this. We're almost at the top. It'll just fit those neck bones, and it's going to reduce as we cook it. Right in the beginning, like, is when you really want to be taking your spoon and just Really, really getting everything off the bottom, making sure nothing's sticking there. I'm gonna add just a pinch of sugar, just a touch. And I'm not gonna put any salt and pepper in right now. A lot of times with these tomatoes, you don't need any more salt. Everything's gonna concentrate, it's gonna reduce. So you can, at the end, really just get the seasoning perfect. I have 1.5 pounds of neck bones. This is a good amount for the amount of sauce we're making. See like the bone right here? Okay. There's like a little fragment there and there. So the thing you want to be careful with this, if you are using these and you have like little kids, you want to be mindful of that. Say you're going to cook your sauce for 6 hours. These don't have to cook for the full 6 hours. Or you can put them in a cheesecloth, tie the whole thing up, and then you don't have to worry about anything. Let it come up to a simmer. Get your heat right to that point where it's just tiny bubbling. Just been down here the whole time just waiting for it to start. There's a lot in here. I can feel it sticking a tiny bit, so I'm taking my spoon again and I'm just knocking anything off the bottom there. Every 15, 20 minutes, take the lid off and stir it just a bit. You just gotta feel the bottom. And you get to see how your sauce is doing. So right now I have a little bubble. It's basically right where I want it. It's cooking. It's gonna cook low and slow like this. And I'm gonna take this lid and put it right here. And see that little crack? Every 20 minutes, take off that lid, 15, 20, give it just give it a check on the bottom. After a while, you'll be good. I've been taking it off every 15 minutes. I'm just keeping my head back so I don't get splashed here. You see how this is like kind of like the simmer you want, like very low. I'm feeling the bottom. If I get any kind of resistance, by doing it every 15 minutes, you're gonna prevent it from burning and building up. If it starts building up down there, then it gets really difficult to remove it. If that happens to you, and this has happened to me and it's happened to everybody who's made sauce before, if you feel a really thick layer of burnt sauce at the bottom, don't try to knock it off with your spoon. Turn it off, let it cool for a second, and transfer the whole top of it into another pot. And then you'll have a chance to start again. But if you try to force that bottom, which will be like a black layer, then you'll have a lot of burnt bits in your sauce. Basically, the way to battle this is just to, every 15 minutes, just come in and you just run the spoon around, and I'm good right now. All right, that's perfect. There's nothing on the bottom there. Everything's been removed. I'm gonna put my cover back on, and we're gonna continue. It's been about 30, 45 minutes. 2-3 hours is a good point for you to hit for. If you can do longer, that's great too. So look, he's a little guy, and these bones right here, you see them? That's a little, I'm gonna pull them out now. We got a ton of flavor from these pork neck bones, but we don't want anybody to choke on them. And it's not just for the little guys, it's for guys like me, and it's for guys and girls like you, because they will fall apart. So I'm gonna put them all in a dish. He wants to come back down when it's time to try the pasta. Let's take a taste right now, because we didn't put any salt and pepper in here at all. Let's see if it needs it. That's so good already. I'm gonna put a half a teaspoon of salt. I'm gonna put maybe a half teaspoon of black pepper. So I want you guys to do the same thing. You do that little taste at the end. Remember, not all tomato can brands are gonna have the exact sodium level in them. That right there means that any recipe that tells you kind of like just to add this much salt, it might not be correct, because unless you're using the brand they recommend, but they never do that. You're gonna get much better at this the more you cook. I know you're going to. You're gonna become a great cook. So this sauce is absolutely perfect here. That's the exact consistency that I want. Whenever I boil pasta, I always put about 2 tablespoons of kosher salt in. There are exceptions. You know, maybe if you're making cacio e pepe, you're gonna have very little water in there. You know, maybe even carbonara too, but for the most part, 2 tablespoons of kosher salt per gallon of water. And if you do 3 tablespoons, it'll be fine too. It really will be. 16 and 14, that is some serious pasta. If you stir it in like the first 30 seconds to a minute, you're gonna ensure that, that it doesn't stick. We're following the bag instructions. It's saying 4 more minutes. Let's check. All right, that's how it looks right now. right about there. I'm very al dente right now. I think I'm at 14 minutes. That's what the bag said for al dente. So again, the Checo, it's right. I'm gonna drain this completely. Make sure you're working relatively quickly. If that pasta sits too much longer, it's all gonna start to stick. I don't wanna put olive oil on it. That's gonna make the sauce not stick to it. I don't wanna do that. We're gonna take a couple ladles of our Sunday sauce, and that's just a perfect consistency right there. Still have a lot of chunks in the tomatoes, which is what I wanted. This is pakiri. It's a very, very big pasta. Just gonna toss it in there. We don't wanna over sauce our pasta. We don't ever wanna do that, even with Sunday gravy. If you add a little bit of butter here, not a lot, just a little bit. For a pound of pasta, don't do more than like 2 tablespoons. That's too much. I'm just gonna cut it into a bunch of little pieces. Okay, mix that in. What it's gonna do is the butter, and it's gonna coat with the tomato sauce. It's just gonna make it better. So if you wanna use the butter here, use it. If you don't. But we're not done yet. I'm gonna show you how to make this even better.
I love regatta.
I know you love regatta. And you can put the regatta, mix it right with the pasta. So look, here we go, right there. Sammy, do you like it or not?
Yeah.
Some people love the cold regatta on there, and you mix it in there. You just take like a little bit. It's like kind of like you keep a container of regatta, and then you can do this every time.
Yeah.
All right, there's his plate right there. Ooh, that looks good. James, you want to try a bite?
Awesome. It's good.
It's good?
Yeah.
All right. Love you, James. Love you, Sammy. Bye, Sammy.
What are you doing, Sam?
This is a really, really easy Sunday gravy you can make. I know you can make it. I know you can make it exactly how I did it. And please don't be deterred and think, oh, there's no herbs or spices in it. The less is more when it comes to this stuff. Just rely on the tomatoes, rely on the meat, the pork flavor, give it time, and it'll be really good. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.